Why Germans think this devil's bridge is a miracle? What is a devil's bridge? From one side of the planet to other, particularly in Europe, there are few old scaffolds. A portion of these scaffolds are known devil's bridges. The scaffold look like curve made out of stone. At the hour of their development, they addressed progressed information and headway in the development innovation. Taking a gander, name given to this extension, it's anything but an unexpected that the greater part of them, if not all, having going with the legend, fantasy, or folk tale, including Satan. The vast majority of these stories say that the scaffold were built during the rule of Roman Empire. Frequently, these stories are mistaken, as certainly shows that they were built during the bygone eras. Some were in range of thousands and 1600 AD. The vast majority credited them to Satan, since they didn't believe that it was feasible for such an accomplishment to be finished. Indeed, a portion of street that the Romans fabricated were additionally ascribed to Satan as a result of the trend-setting innovation they utilized. Concealed in the lavish nurseries, the Kromlau in Saxony, a consummately curved scaffold drove sightseers and expert photographic artists to the site who wonder about the ideal circle that the impression of the stone curve make in the water. The Devil's Bridge is one of the numerous extensions in Europe which conveying the Begulin moniker, which frequently enlivened by legendary stories and adventures. A large number of antiquated explanatory scaffolds were viewed as a supernatural occurrence and difficult to work without assistance from Satan. Take the Devolsky, the most close to Adreno, Bulgaria for instance. After amazing Adra waterway had obliterated a few scaffolds previously, local people accepted the site to be revealed. The driven endeavor to develop another extension by a manufacturer was met with incredulity. Rumors from far and wide suggest that he made an agreement with Satan, who gave to share the mystery of building an enduring scaffold as a trade-off for a couple of favors, including that his picture would be eternalized in the last development. In the event that you visit on a sunny morning, slant your head, you probably see a Satan face and horns in the reflection. The devil likewise helped individual in Uri to construct the scaffold in the Swiss colon Cork, requesting that he would get the spirit of the primary individual who crossed the extension. Local people outfox the devil and send a god all things being equal. A lady in Kirby, England, hid a comparative arrangement with the devil after one of her cows had vanished into the forested areas on the opposite side of the stream. Once more, the devil requested a spirit as a trade-off for building an extension across. However, the lady forfeited her cannon instead of herself. In contrast, with large number of its partners dispersed all over Europe, Cromlow's extension is genuinely new. Charged in 1860, the brief was clear: to make a half circle which on an unmistakable and quiet day would be reflected in the water under and give the dream of an ideal circle. The weaker, gravity resisting curve comes to across the lake, where it's anything but a bunch of taking off basalt segment on each side. Despite the fact that no black magic or sinister forces were utilized during the development, the setting of Cromwell's Devil's Bridge certainly links you to a fantasy. Crossing over the peaceful lake and encompassed by sprouting azaleas and rhododendrons in the spring. The Rackberg effectively make the rundown of Germany's most mysterious spots. Simply know that taking pictures from afar off is permitted, yet crossing the extension isn't. Maybe the sensitive curve is be afraid of to disintegrate, which might be the drawback of focusing on pesticide overism. Stonehenge in southern England. Stonehenge, which position among the world's most famous archaeological destination and perhaps the best puzzle. The gigantic circle on Salisbury Plain motivate wonder and interest, yet additionally exceptional discussion exactly 4,600 years after it was worked by antiquated Britons who left no put down account. The landmark's strange past has generated incalculable stories and speculations. As indicated by fables, the Stonehenge was made by Merlin, the wizard of the Arthurian legend, who mysteriously moved the enormous stone from the Ireland, where Golith had amazed them. Another legend says attacking Danes put the stones up, and another hypothesis says that they were the remnants of Roman sanctuary. Advanced understandings are no less beautiful. Some contend that Stonehenge is a space apparatus landing region for outsiders, and surprisingly, more say it's a monster fruitfulness image, looking like a female genitalia. Archaeological examination of the site traces all the way back to 1660s, when it was first studied by the classicist John Abray. A monster topographical miracle in the Sahara Desert of Mauritania is unhinged in this picture, which is obtained on 23rd November 2010 from Japan Allo satellite. The 40-kilometer distance across round Richard structure is one of the geographical highlights that is simpler to see from space than from down on the ground, and has been a natural milestone to space travelers since the most punctual missions. When thought to be the consequence of meteor sweat, scientists presently trust it was brought about by a huge arc of liquid stone, which elevating and onside the surface being molded by the wind and water into what we see today. The concentric group of safe quartzite rocks structure edges with valleys of less safe zone between them. The dull region on the left is important for the uttered level of sedimentary stone, which is standing approximately 200 meters over the encompassing desert sands. An enormous region which covered by sand rises called Anarch, which can be found in the lower right piece of the picture, and the sand is infringing into the distant southern side. Focusing on the southern side of the bull's eye, we can consider individual to be brainless as little spots. These follow a water-like construction that seemed to have been dry. When this picture was obtained, half a month after Bullish dry season, a few regions toward the south and east of Richard have all the earmarks of being covered with impermanence lake, which are dry for the vast majority of the year. Blood falls of Antarctica. Geologists have at long last uncovered the reality behind the apparently secretive blood falls of the Antarctica, which is situated in McMurdo Dry Valleys. The valleys in the falls were found by analysts in 1911 when it poured off the precipice in the Great Tyler Icy Mass. The showy red shade of the water was ascribed to discoloration brought about by red-green growth. Yet a new exploration by researchers from the University of Alaska, Fairbanks, proposes an alternative chance. How is water red in shading? As indicated by the examination, the red tone is a result of oxidization of iron that happen when iron mineral break down in high thickness salt water or saline solution. At the point when this water interact with oxygen, a cycle of oxidation follows, which bestows the dazzling red tone. In this likewise a similar cycle by which iron rust when presented to air. The examination group utilized imaging from under the glacial masses, utilizing a procedure called radio reverberation sounding or RAS. This is significant on the ground that saline water demonstrate variety in densities that were eventually used to uncover the interaction of oxidation. It was tracked down that the Beckish water, which was found from the lake that streams under the Great Tyler glacial mass, which requires 1.5 million years before at long last arriving at blood falls. So the saline solution is found to have gotten mineral from the basic hard bedrocks and sports forward of outside of the icy mass, though gaps. Will a stream exist under glacial mass? One may consider how a streaming waterway may exist underneath the thick surface of frozen glacial mass. The appropriate response, which can be ascribed the impact of pollution on the frosty temperature of water. Water containing solvent pollutions, for example, salt freezes at a much lower temperature than new water. Usually frozen water contains a specific measure of ideal warmth that can keep the waterway streaming. This implies that while the surface may stay frozen, the fundamental saline solution stay fluid. It is a similar standard dependent on which individual salt road throughout the colder time of the year before the beginning of the tempest. The brackish water stays fluid inside the subglacial and englacial conditions through ideal warmth of freezing, which combined with rice salt substance. Our discoveries propose that cool ice sheets could uphold freshwater hydrochloric frameworks through restricted warming by domain warm around. Specialists said in the examination, which was distributed in the Journal of Glaciology. At last, the pressing factor of the strong square of ice above the power water through a perplexing channel of service, which come full circle in a red waterway that trembles of great appalling. Another intriguing understanding is the presence of microbial living being that possess these saline waterways with low oxygen content that endure ages in disengagement. It can fill in as proof for variation in cruel condition. Eternal flames, which is found in Chestnut Ridge County Park, simply south of Buffalo in New York State. There is a lovely normal sail with a little cascade, which is covered up. Underneath this cascade is something extraordinary, an eternal flame, a fire which won't ever wear out. This captivating marvel confused most, as no logical clarification had the option to appropriately clarify it. There exist other unceasing places on the planet, yet this specific one appeared to have a topographical interaction which was fairly mystifying. The enduring flames are generally held alive on account of the gases which discharge from basic rocks. What more? Ongoing investigation done by Indiana University, they have set up that Earth high temperature, which can reach up to 20 degrees Celsius, can really make carbon particle break similar atoms which make up sedimentary rocks and similar ones which are home to gases. This specific fire, just 30 inches tall and burned through around 2 pounds worth of a gas day, which contain characteristic pocket found almost 400 meters down. This high group of methane, alongside the presence of ethane and propane, is probably the biggest amount of any point which found on a particular surface. This eternal flame falls that lives in a Chestnut Ridge County Park is held alive because of the consistent amount of methane gas provided. However, sometimes the fire is known to go out. It is immediately lit once more. Maybe because of the way that it is found just among the neighborhood falls. Rumors have spread far and wide, which suggesting that it was first lit many years prior by Native Americans. A lot of what occurs on our planet can be clarified. Yet, right up till today, parcel of different objection likewise remain covered in the secret, with the world's most prominent personalities incapable to decide their accounts or clarify their exceptional highlights. Take for example a far-off valley in Norway for a normal light show which has no known beginning, or then again a timberline in Poland where trees develop at a beguiling 90-degree point, or on other hand a space of Lake Michigan where a wide range of peculiar episodes have occurred, and nobody is certain why it is happening. San Luis Valley. San Luis Valley Desert in southern Colorado is so secretive. It even has its own Google Map feature, different paranormal movement that has been accounted for them. A flying humanoid was seen in the desert in 2009. There have been numerous Bigfoot sites throughout the long term, and it's anything but a farm that figured conspicuously in the mutilation rushes in 70s. This generally delightful valley, the biggest elevated valley on the planet, has been possessed by people for millennia. One sign of this is winding stone of obscure, beginning that the action, many feet long and contain the shakes so gigantic, and it's anything but our around the compass exertion to put them. In any case, maybe the most unusual element isn't the extraordinary in any way. It's simply strange. The northern piece of the valley floor contains the 40 square miles Great Sand Dunes National Park and Preserve, which include the world's tallest rise at 750 feet. Geologists struggle to clarify the beginning of the sand, yet they think it might have been blown in from the Rio Grande riverbed toward the west. Adding to the interest is the way that the sand is probably the most perfect silica on earth and has particular mineral creation which is dissimilar to whatever else in the valley. La Zona del Silencio, the zone of silence, somewhere down in the northern desert of Mexico, is a 30 odd square mile region where things are slightly off. In the natural domain, the zone contains many vegetation endemic to the space and is wealthy in uranium and magnetite. It is powerful gases that are generally captivating. Inconsistencies unite the radio sign and electronic gear being lost or going haywire. A radioactive US military test rocket sent into the space in 1970 wound up in the zone somewhere in the range of 500 miles from its reconnaissance objective. The odd light and the UFOs have been seen nearby. Furthermore, it lies along the secretive 13th equal. However, our number one legend is that of the supportive and courteous individual who apparently show up out of blue just to vanish comparably quickly. A farming family in the space has talked about the successive visit from two men and one lady, all Spanish talking and with long light hair, who essentially solicitation to fill their bottle with new water and afterward leave. Once they ostensibly told a curious relative they came from a higher place, a scientist who wound up lost in the zone said a triplet of comparative looking individual drove him back to his camp, then at that point vanished. A couple whose vehicle got caught in a heavy tempest in the meantime were helped by two curiously tall men, they wearing baseball covers and yellow plugs, who pushed their truck to the security. At the point when the couple escaped their vehicle to express gratefulness, the secretive great cemeterians were mysteriously absent. Nazca Desert. They are gigantic and they are secretive, covering approximately 19 square miles in the Nazca Desert of southern Peru, around 260 miles south of Lima, which striking geophysics called Nazca lines were worked between 500 BC and 500 CE. There is no complete clarification for the reality. However, they are generally accepted to have strict importance for the pre-Columbian individuals of Nazca. Surprisingly, the Nazca line have withstood time in huge part because of their segregated area in a wilderness and stable desert environment. They were made by driving channels in the desert, reddy, earthy colored earth, uncovering a light hued mud under. The geoglyphs range from basic straight line to mathematical shape to more convoluted creature like hummingbird, creepy crawling and monkey, thus likewise human-like figure. They are best seen from air in speed the fat encompassing lower region of ideal vengeance focusing on the portion of the plane. Since they are the best seen from higher place, paranoid idea that said Nazca public whether either speaking with their divine being extraterrestrial guess. Bermuda Triangle. It's been called a lot of things. The Devil's Triangle, the Hoodoo Sea, the Limb of the Lost. One of the most mysterious places on this planet, which located off the southeastern coast of US in the Atlantic Ocean between Bermuda, Florida, and Puerto Rico. It is believed that radio stop working here, compasses spin like crazy, electronics start waking out. Some say they have spotted UFOs. The region has become the center of unresolved mysteries. This triangle swallowed 75 aircraft, more than 100 ships, and close to 1,000 humans. It has been subjected to many paranormal theories. Some says it's a wormhole to another dimension. Others say it's a gateway to underworld. What's up this place? Where exactly it is? And who exactly we do blame for this disappearance? See aliens, monsters, an ancient curse, or any Illuminati conspiracy? No idea. This Devil's Triangle, which covers about 500,000 square miles of ocean off southeastern tip of Florida, when Christopher Columbus sailed through the area on his first voyage to the New World, he reported that a great flame of fire crashed into the sea one night, and that strange light appeared in the distance. Christopher Columbus also wrote about erratic compass readings, perhaps because at that time, a silver of Bermuda Triangle was one of the few places on the earth where true north and magnetic north lined up. Actually, Bermuda Triangle always part of a busy shipping route in the world, with a number of vessels heading to America, Europe, and the Caribbean, crossing through every day. Over the centuries, a large number of ships and planes have been reported to have mysteriously disappeared in the region. The term Bermuda Triangle was first used by Vincent Gaddis in 1964. However, the mysterious behavior of the region came into public attention only in 20th century when the Navy cargo ship USS Cyclops with more than 300 people on board went missing in the Bermuda Triangle. The latest such incident in the region is the disappearance of a small twin-engine plane in recent years. The plane with 4 people on board suddenly disappeared from the radar when it was flying from Puerto Rico to Florida, and the debris appeared to be from the missing plane was found later. As the accident, often mysterious, continued to happen in the Bermuda Triangle region, many have offered a number of explanations for the mysteries behind them. The role of paranormal activity and the presence of aliens have been strongly suggested by those who believed in something odd is happening. Many with scientific view disputed this argument, offering rational explanation to the phenomenon. Few proposed scientific explanations, and the more popular is the theory of electromagnetic interference that causes the compass problems. Actually, this theory claims there is a very high pull of Earth's natural magnet, which usually redirect the compass and other sophisticated equipment, and which prohibit them to take their intended route through the water. However, there is no single theory could offer a solid explanation. Many of them are still believing there is nothing strange with the region. They believe most of the incidents were inaccurately reported the versions of accidents. We can see that there is no proven theory for the exact reason behind the mystery of Bermuda Triangle. The accidents continue to happen in this region every year. And the legends of Bermuda Triangle consist of a number of mysterious disappearances of vessels in this region. Here is a list of most noted unresolved mysteries of ship accidents in this Devil's Triangle. Number 1. Mary Celeste, possibly one of the most mysterious stories of shipwrecks. This ship is a tale of its own, despite being found adrift in some other location in the Atlantic Ocean. The connection to the Bermuda Triangle had been somehow invoked to find an answer to the mystery of its fate. But days after, On 4th December 1872, a passing British ship, the Great Dove, found Mary Callister under partial sail in Atlantic. The ship discovered with everything right in place except for the entire crew. There were 7 crew members, no trace of people aboard the vessel. Theories surrounding the mystery of Mary Celeste also include the chance of criminal conspiracy, alien abduction, and even attack by a giant squid. The possibility of a natural disaster was also on the list. Many suggested that the role of undersea earthquake behind the accident, while few proposed an accidental foraying for the vessel into the Bermuda Triangle. However, as much as these speculations seem reasonable, they clearly don't fit. Why would a perfectly skilled crew on a good weather day, with their ship entirely uncompromised, abandon it and then never surface again? Number 2. Alan Austin. It is an unnerving triangle mystery which associated with the American White Oak schooner. In 1981, Ellen Austin Ellen Austin was her way to the New York from London when she stumbled upon an abandoned near Bermuda Triangle. Everything seems fine with the unidentified schooner drifting just north of Sargasso Sea, but the missing crew. After 2 days with no response from the ship, they conducted a search and discovered an abandoned vessel, but no sign of crew. Number 3. USS Cyclops. The disappearance of USS Cyclops, one of the Navy's biggest fuel ships, marks the largest loss of life in the history of US Navy in a single incident. In March 1918, this massive ship set out to sail from Brazil to Baltimore through the Bermuda region carrying 10,800 tons of manganese ore with about 309 crew members on board. Setting off on a fairly good day, first and the only message sent by this ship indicated no sort of troubles. However, the ship was never heard from again. An entire search of the area was put into action, but nothing was ever found. No remains of the ship or any crew members aboard have been found. The captain of USS Cyclops never sent a distress signal, and no one aboard responded to the radio calls from other vessels in the vicinity. The naval investigators also failed to find an exact cause of these disappearances, though there were a number of theories suggesting various reasons. As a result of the Cyclops disappearances, it became part of a list of more than 100 ships and planes to have vanished under the strange circumstances in the Bermuda Triangle. Number 4. Carol A. Deering. It's often known as Ghost Ship of the Outer Banks. Carol A. Deering, a 5-masted commercial schooner, is one of the most written about maritime mysteries of the 20th century due to the complete mystery around its abandonment. On January 31, 1921, Carol A. Deering was found stranded on the rocks of North Carolina. During the investigation, they found a deserted ship with all crew members missing, along with the crew's personal belongings. The ship navigational equipment, logbook, and life raft, among others. The report suggests that as many as 9 vessels disappeared during this period from the same region, none of which was ever heard from again. Number 5. Witchcraft. A cabin cruiser named Witchcraft left from Miami on 22 December 1967. After reaching just 1 mile from offshore, the Coast Guard received a call from the captain that stating His ship had hit something, but there was no substantial damage, indicating the help to be towed to the shore. The Coast Guard set off immediately, reaching the witchcraft in as many as 19 minutes alone, but to nothing. The area indicating the location of ship was completely deserted with no sign of any ship have been stranded or even present previously. What most intriguing about this story is that this particular cruiser was virtually unsinkable, not to mention that numerous life-saving devices present abroad, including life jacket, lifeboat, flyers, distress signal devices. So many. None of them was used and the ship was gone. The Coast Guard officials searched hundreds of square miles of the ocean over the next few days, but they were unsuccessful. Nothing of this ship has been found. Until this day, the ship is gone, and what remains is only the speculation that can be done now. Let's see what the science can tell us about the mysterious ocean region. Of course, that's just one version of the story. As the usual quote, Bermuda Triangle has been the site of a number of high-profile and still mysterious naval and aviation disappearances. Still, a number of people have proposed scientifically valid explanations for the disappearances of ships and planes in this Bermuda Triangle over the past few years. Everyone knows ocean is a dangerous place, and it's not uncommon even today for things to go wrong. In storm-tossed water of the North Atlantic, safety is never a guarantee. Actually, Bermuda Triangle got its name from 1964 article in the pulp magazine Argosy, which linked together a few disappearances in that region. The deadly Bermuda Triangle didn't offer up any explanation for the occurrence, though it did heavily emphasize the mysterious nature of the area. The article features the disappearance of USS Cyclops, a Navy supply ship, in 1918, the loss of a flight of bombers during the practice run in 1945, as well as one of the search and rescue planes sent out after them. These incidents and the all other incidents have today become a part of a lore of Bermuda Triangle. These stories are often stitched together to hint at something untold lurking beneath the surface of Atlantic Ocean. So, in addition to the supernatural explanations, a number of more realistic explanations for the phenomenon have been put forward throughout all these years, that ranging from vivid magnetism to dangerous bubbles. Let's look. Dangerous waters. The fact that the area within the Bermuda Triangle is heavily trafficked could account for some of the mystery. Any region with a lot of ships going through is bound to see more accident than a place with less activity. Just pair that with the fact that Bermuda Triangle is often swept by hurricanes, and it's not hard to see why ship might occasionally sink there. Another common explanation for this Bermuda Triangle, red zone magnetism. The Earth's magnetic North Pole isn't the same as its geographical North Pole, which means that the compasses usually don't point exactly north, only along what's known as agonic lines, which line up magnetic and geographical north. Are compasses truly accurate? Usually, one agonic line runs from Lake Superior down through the Gulf of Mexico near the Bermuda Triangle. One theory holds that mariners usually familiarize to accounting for an inconsistency in their compass readings. They may make mistakes when very near to the agonic lines that lead them astray. Paired with the often shallow waters of the island-strewn Caribbean Sea, navigational errors could lead to boats running aground on a hidden shores. Another important theory suggests that Bermuda Triangle might be home to a large scale of magnetic anomaly. a region where the Earth's magnetic field line are wrapped and twisted. This too could cause navigational mistakes, but as others have noted, there is no evidence the Bermuda Triangle contains any unusual magnetic disturbance, something that clear when looking at magnetic map of the region. More recently, some scientists have suggested that ship sinkings in the Bermuda Triangle could be due to massive bubbles which released from undersea methane deposits. The seafloor in the region is known to contain large pockets of gas that could be released suddenly, turning the ocean into frothy soup that's swallowing the ships. A similar process likely created huge seafloor craters near Norway. The mechanism itself makes sense. There's no evidence of any recent methane released from the area around the Bermuda Triangle. The last time anything similar happened in the region was around 15,000 years ago, according to the US Geological Survey. Another explanation for the Bermuda Triangle that checks out on paper is the presence of rough waves. All these huge waves can form unexpectedly and rise 2 or even 3 times above the surrounding waves. The British researchers they used a lab and a computer model to stimulate the effect of these waves. More than 100 feet tall on ship as part of an investigation into the Bermuda Triangle. The ships that were sufficiently long could get caught suspended between two waves, peak with nothing supporting them from below, and snap in half. Rough waves are certainly capable of breaking a ship. We have no definitive evidence tying them to any of the naval disaster in the Bermuda Triangle. Bermuda Triangle and the area doesn't appear on any official maps. The Coast Guard and the Department of Defense have repeatedly refrained from giving the area or its legends any outside significance. Actually, whatever, there is no evidence suggesting the region sees higher rates of maritime or aviation disaster than anywhere else in the world, after accounting for the amount of traffic that passes through. Let's check the human factor. The true explanation for the Bermuda Triangle may ultimately reside not in the ocean, but in our minds. Our minds are often biased towards curious or otherwise memorable events and have trouble accurately accounting for the statistical discrepancies. Usually, we are more likely to remember things that seem exceptional, such as a ship that disappears with no explanation, than something more ordinary, like a ship sinking in a hurricane. Once something stands out to us, it can form the bias for the further attention. It's a form of what called a frequency illusion, sometimes which refers to as the Bader-Meinhof effect. It is very simple. Once we introduce to something, we have a tendency to notice it more often all around us. That can lead us to think whatever we notice is becoming rapidly more common, when in reality we are just noticing it more. Okay, whatever is ultimately responsible for the legend of Bermuda Triangle, be it psychological or otherwise, it's worth remembering that there's never been any evidence that the region is any more dangerous than anywhere else. So go ahead and take that vacation to Bermuda. But as always, make sure to wear a life jacket when you are out on the water. It's just a common sense. Recently, some people have wondered if there is a Bermuda Triangle connection in the disappearance of Malaysia Airline flight MH370, even though the jet went missing halfway around the world. So, the term Bermuda Triangle was coined in 1964 by the writer Vincent Gaddis in the Men Pulp magazine Argosy. Though Gaddis first came up with the phrase, a much more famous name propelled into international popularity a decade later. The Charles Berlitz, whose family created the popular series of language instruction course, also had a strongest interest in the paranormal. He believed not only that Atlantis was real, but also that it was connected to triangle in some way. A theory he proposed in his best-selling 1974 book, The Bermuda Triangle. The mystery has since been prompted in thousands of books, magazines, television shows, also in some websites. Over the years, many theories have been offered to explain this Bermuda Triangle mystery. Some writers have expanded upon Berlitz's ideas about the Atlantis, the mystery, which suggesting that the mythical city may lie at the bottom of the sea and be using its reputed crystal energies to sink ship and the planes. Whatever. Other more fanciful suggestions are time portals and extraterrestrials, which including rumors of the underwater alien bases. Still others believe that the explanation lies in some sort of extremely rare and little known yet perfectly natural geological or the hydrological explanation. For example, perhaps the ship and the plane are destroyed by pockets of flammable methane gas, which is still known to exist a large quantity under the sea. Maybe lightning or not sure, an electrical spark ignited a huge bubble of methane that came to the surface right next to the ship or plane, causing them to sink without a trace. Lot of explanations regarding this. There are few obvious logical problems with this theory, which including that methane gas exists naturally around the world, and such an incident has never been known to happen. However, as I told earlier, there is no single theory could offer a solid explanation, and there is a no proven theory existing for the exact reason behind the mystery of Bermuda Triangle. The accident continued to happen in this region, in this Bermuda Triangle region every year. So it is one of the most mysterious places on this planet. We can call it Devil's Triangle. Atlantis, the idea of Atlantis, the lost island, subcontinent, often idealized as an advanced utopian society holding wisdom that could bring world peace, has fascinated dreamers, occultists, and ages of generation. Thousands of books, magazines, and websites are devoted to this magical Atlantis, and it remains a popular topic. People have lost fortunes, and in some cases, even their lives, looking for this magical Atlantis. Unlike many legends whose origins have been lost in the fog of time, we know exactly when and where the story of Atlantis first appeared. The story was first told in two of Plato's dialogue, the Timaeus and the Critias, written about 360 BC. Though today Atlantis is often conceived of as a peaceful utopia, the Atlantis that Plato described in his fable was very different. Let's see, in his book Encyclopedia of Dubious Archaeology, Professor of Archaeology Ken Feder noted that in Plato's story, Atlantis is not a place to be honored or emulated at all. Atlantis is not a perfect society, quite the opposite. Atlantis is the picture of an immensely wealthy, technologically advanced, and militarily powerful nation. So that has become usually corrupted by its wealth, sophistication, and might. As information in Plato's morality tale, the Atlantis legend is more about the city's heroic rival, Athens, than the sunken civilization. So, if Atlantis really existed today and was found intact, and if inhabited, its resident would probably try to kill and enslave us all. That's a huge possibility for that. It's clear that Plato made up Atlantis as a plot of device for his stories because no other record of it anywhere else in the world. There are many existing Greek texts. Surely, someone else would have also mentioned that, at least in passing, such a remarkable place. There is simple no evidence from any source that those legends about Atlantis existed before Plato wrote about it. In his book, Meet Me in Atlantis. Across three continents in search of legendary lost city, the great Mark Adams, he explains how an otherwise unremarkable Greek legend became so widely known. It was due to a Minnesota man named Ignatius Donnelly. The Donnelly was a congressman and amateur historian who claimed in his 1882 book, Antediluvian World, that all the great advances in civilization and the technology could be traced back to the long lost island mentioned by Plato. But Donnelly went beyond merely popularizing the Plato stories. He added some of his own facts and ideas that have become part of the Atlantis myth. Donnelly encouraged what is now called diffusionism, the idea that all great culture can be traced back to a single source. Adams describes Donnelly as the first great Atlantis fundamentalist, in that he believed that Plato's story was factually accurate outside of the supernatural element like the Poseidon. So it says Donnelly sent a copy of his book to the great Charles Darwin, who found it interesting but unpersuasive reading it. He said, in a very skeptical spirit, Adams, after poring over much of Donnelly material, which comes to similar conclusion. Donnelly was a bag of winds. He knew the result he wanted and rummaged through his sources searching for only those facts that fit his needs without posing to not any reasonable doubts. Later, less skeptical writers elaborated on Donnelly's theories, adding their own opinion and speculations. These included mystic madman Banksy, the famous psychic Edgar Case in the 1920s Case, who put a fundamentalist Christian spin on the Atlantic story, gave psychic readings for the thousands of people, many of whom he claimed had a past lives in Atlantis. So the things is very really confusing all this testing. Unfortunately, none of those information was very verifiable. And Case strongly predicted that the continent would be discovered in 1969. The Lost Continent. It's clear that original fiction, many people over the century have claimed that there must be some truth behind these myths, speculating about where Atlantis would be found. Countless Atlantis experts have located the lost of continent all around the world based on the same set of facts. candidates each accompanied by its own peculiar sets of evidence and arguments, which include the Atlantic Ocean, Antarctica, Bolivia, Turkey, Germany, Malta, Caribbean. Once again, Atlantic Ocean, Bolivia, Antarctica, Turkey, Germany, Malta, and Caribbean. The plateau, however, is crystal clear about where Atlantis it is, where it is exactly located. For the ocean, there was at that time navigable. For in front of the mouth of which you are Greek called, as you say, the Pillars of Hercules, there lay an island which was larger than Libya and Asia together. In other words, it lies in the Atlantic Ocean, beyond the Pillars of Hercules, the Straits of Gibraltar, at the mouth of Mediterranean. Yet it has never been found in the Atlantic or anywhere else. The only way to make a mystery out of Atlantis is to ignore its obvious origin as a moral fable and to change the detail of Plato's story, claiming that he took license with the truth, either out of error or intended to deceive. With the addition, oversight or misconception of varied details in Plato's work, nearly any anticipated location can be made to fit his description. Yes, as writer L. Sprague Deacon, he noted in his book, The Lost Continent, you cannot change all the details of Plato's story and still claim to have a Plato story. That is like saying the legendary king, author, is really Cleopatra. All you have is to do to change the Cleopatra, sex, nationality, period, temperament, moral character, and all the other details. The resemblance become obvious. Actually, the more obvious sign that the Atlantis myth is that no trace of it has ever been found despite advances in the oceanography and the ocean floor mapping in the past decades. For nearly 2 millennia, readers could be forgiven for suspecting that the vast depth might somehow hidden sunken city or the continent. Though there remain much mystery at the bottom of world's ocean. It is inconceivable that the world oceanographers, submariners, and the deep sea probes have somehow missed their landmark larger than the Libya and Asia together. The plate tectonics demonstrate that the mysterious city Atlantis is impossible as the continent have drifted. The seafloor has spread over the time, not contracted. There would be simply be no place for Atlantis to sink into. As Ken Federer notes, the geology is clear that there could have been no large land surface that then sank into the area where Plato places Atlantis. Together, modern archaeology, the geology, provide an unambiguous verdict. There was no Atlantic continent. There was no great civilization called Atlantis. Ignatius Donnelly was certain of his theory, which predicting that hard evidence of the sunken city would soon be found and that museums around the world would one day be filled with artifacts from Atlantis. Yet over almost 130 years have passed without a trace of evidence. The Atlantis legend has been kept alive, fueled by public's imagination and fascination with the idea of a hidden, long-lost utopia. Yet the lost city of Atlantis was never lost. It is where it always was, in Plato's books.